Just to give you a little bit about TIE, not too much, but very quickly. We are the largest network of entrepreneurs anywhere in the world. We are present in 61 chapters in different countries. There are nearly 1,500 charter members, and we have an excess of 25,000 members. These 1,500 members are very successful entrepreneurs, business leaders, professionals who have achieved success and have decided to give back to the society. Our single point agenda is fostering and nurturing entrepreneurship. And towards that, we have had a program called TIE Quest Business Venture Competition on for last 7-8 years. This normally starts sometimes in December. There are about 200 applicants. There is a prize money of about $150,000 and no strings attached. People present their project profiles, they get weeded out, they come and pitch, they get weeded out, they come and present their business plans, they get weeded out, and then on a demo day, the winners are chosen. The track record has been pretty good. Just to give you an example, some of the companies got picked up by companies like Intel when they exited their business. Last year, for aspiring entrepreneurs, we started TIE Institute. In our main program, we had about 30 sessions and about 300 registrations. In each session, we had about 30 people attend the sessions. This program is for all aspiring entrepreneurs, irrespective of the nature of the business that you choose to start. And we have in our curriculum today to talk to you about entrepreneurship in general, but thereafter, we take you on a distinct startup phase, and thereafter on launching, growth, and exiting of your organization. Just to let you know that if you attend 2/3 of the session, you become eligible to enter the TIE Quest Business Venture Competition at no cost. And there are special recognition for the participants who come from the Institute. Last year, we had about 19 of our participants participate in the TIE Quest Business Venture Competition, and about 4 of them made it to the next 2 rounds as well. If you attend 5 sessions, then we assign you a mentor from our guest faculty. This year, just so that you know that among yourselves, you have about 30% of you have a postgraduate qualification, 63% of you are between the age of 20 and 29, and most importantly, about 17% of you are in a second venture and 46% are on first venture. These are some of the sessions that are planned this year. You're probably aware of it. If you are not aware, it's there on the website. We will keep mailing you about these, so I won't spend too much time on this. But just to let you know that there are significant opportunities for you to come on the podium as well. The most important constituents of this institute is the guest speakers that we have. It's their volunteerism, it's their benevolence, it's the quality that they bring on the podium out here and in interaction with you that makes this institute. Last year, we had about 70 of them come and speak out here. In each session, typically we get 3 to 4 of them to come and interact with you. Again, these are very successful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Then of course, you're sitting in a beautiful venue out here. It's sponsored by Faskin. From time to time, we have session sponsors, and then the institute itself is sponsored by the Ontario government. But in the end, it's all about you. I urge you to have an open mind and learn. But if you learn and don't act upon it, it's no good. The call to action is that please act upon what you learned here. Challenge your mind, look for the opportunity, and do have a goal and pursue it. The speakers will be delighted, you will learn, your time will be well spent if you ask questions. And please, there is a feedback form on each one of your tables. Having an open mind, learning, looking for opportunity, having a goal, and having takeaways and putting into action is a choice that you exercise. But giving a very strong request that I make that you don't exercise any choice there. I won't take any more of your time. There are some of the links out here. Okay, sorry, I need to dwell a little bit on this just to give you a flavor of how you're going to go about it, how you're going to get to participate, and what could be the milestones in your endeavor. We have a business model presentation on November the 8th. Before that, we have sessions on lean startup, we have session on business model itself, we would have session on structuring your company, etc. But during this process, please freeze on an idea. If you've not already frozen on an idea, work on it and convert it into a business model which you should be able to present out here. Because if you do not work on it, you will not get another opportunity to do that in front of so many people, because we do bring in at least 10 experts to sit here who critique what you say, who give you feedback, who take their time out and take the effort to interact with you on that. I urge you that you should use this opportunity. How many of you today would think that you would be ready to make a presentation on your business model on November 8th? Okay, I hope the number increases. That's not too many, really. Hi, Sarah.
Sorry.
Welcome. We will, as I said, assign you mentors if you so choose to have one, and that would be one of the guest faculties. By the way, you will get information about all these on a regular basis. So this is just to give you a roadmap of what is to come. So you will get an opportunity to be assigned a mentor. You will be asked if you've attended 5 sessions. Then there would be a pitching session by the participants. Of course, before that, we will have sessions on how to pitch. People come and tell you. And this would be sometimes in the winter. And ultimately, we'll have business plan presentation. In between, when we start our TiQuest competition, those of you who choose to participate in that will get an opportunity to register, as I said, free of cost. And that would be sometime in December. And ultimately, on May the 2nd, 2013, we will have a demo day and graduation. So if you've been diligent, and if you're interested, if you're sincere, and if you want to do something about yourself, this is what you should really target for. Welcome aboard, and thank you very much. And now I would now have some time for quick questions to the panel. And
I have a question.
yes, please.
So, Sean, I had a guy in the office this afternoon, and it was an interesting challenge because they've got these guys have got MVP, or they're close to MVP.
You need to explain that. Minimum
viable product. So people we talk to have an interesting business, interesting product. It's ready for launch, or within 30 days we're ready for launch. And they've invited to go to one of these demo days and get exposure and so forth. And my intellectual property lawyer sitting beside me in the meeting is like shaking his head. Because once you let the cat out of the bag, you know, somebody's going to find out this.
So they don't have patents, they don't have protection?
Well, they can't afford it. So, you know, part of this kind of search and discovery, you know, you're lean, right? So where do you put your resources? I mean, it's a problem we face all the time, where they come in to see us, and you don't know where to put your money. You put your money into the patents, or you put it into product development and customer verification, and I mean, it's just a real, and I don't know if there's a right answer. I mean, this is more of a rhetorical question, but it's a challenge that people face every single day, and there's not an easy answer.
And you're bang on. In fact, I didn't read from my notes here, I guess I should have, but that the issues with validation is revealing IP, right? That was the first thing I put down here. Engaging with the right customers. In other words, if you go and validate as we did with the wrong customers, that's a problem. But to answer your question, we have examples of companies where if you don't have IP protection, you have no hope in getting control of the market and therefore commanding a high price for your product or whatever the valid price for your product would be, etc. So, for example, in drugs, in biotech, you can't even get the company can't even get started without patents. In medtech, in most cases, you need the patents. Sometimes you don't, if there's a compelling enough business case and so on. In health IT, for example, you rarely have patents. Rarely. We call it a momentum play. So it's the one who's going to get the minimum value product, a feature set, to market quickest, most successfully with the biggest customers that can be referrals. And they don't need patents. Okay. So what I would say is, how critical are patents and patent protection for your ability to control the competition and for your ability to control the business? If in fact, if you reveal that and you've lost the business, well then it's a mug's game that you can't afford to do you can't afford not to do the patents. And in fact, anyone who's going to finance the business would understand that. So if you went to an investor, an angel investor, and you said, well, I need $100,000 to do the patent on, the international patent on this. And he'll say, yep, that's right, you do. So I think it may be a gap between what they think they can raise and what they think they need and the investors that they're talking to. Other questions?
Yeah. Very, very simple, but I think important question. My background, I've come from two areas. Right now I'm working for a relatively profitable, fast-growing tech company, French tech company called Mailjet. Before that, I was working for a community project, a social enterprise in Regent Park that I created called Charlie's Three Wheels. So I've seen both, and I'm attracted to both. I know when Ms. Barani spoke, she put them in different categories: scalable, startup versus social. Can a social enterprise be profitable? Can one have the two masters and try to be making a significant difference in the world, but also send their kids to Upper Canada College?
Can I address that
Yeah.
question for a second? Oops. I get that question at Enterprise Toronto all the time. So we have a big arts and culture sector, for example, and for some parts of the business community, the whole concept of profit is just a bad word and all the rest of it. If you don't have profit, you can't do good. And so that to me is a simple answer for that you need to be profitable, you need to run an effective business in order to continue your operation, to do good works. Works in social enterprise and social outcomes, right? So you need to make a profit in order to achieve your goals.
To continue to have the capacity to be good, you need to have the profit flowing in, right?
Just as a reference, and you can Google and search, there's a woman here in Toronto by the name of Jody Steinhauer. She's got a company called The Bargain Group. And, all of her PR, which really drives her business, is from community service projects, and she's incredible. She's got projects doing with water for places that don't have water, and kids and clothes, and she's really an incredible woman. And it's kind of like, and I don't know if she would say it, but just from the outside looking in, it's almost like she runs the business to feed her addiction of social service. And so, obviously she and her family live well, and she pays her employees and whatever, but there's a huge portion of her business that's all about supporting her community service, and that's what's most important to her. So I guess it's a little bit about what your vision is and who you are and what's important to you. But I agree, you got to be profitable to be able to be charitable.
And I just like to give another example on YouTube on TEDmen. There's an oncologist from the Mayo Clinic who wanted to help women who have dense breast tissue that have the highest risk of breast cancer but the imaging modalities we have are the worst for that kind of woman. So the highest risk people have the worst kind of imaging technology. She wanted to solve that problem. And she said none of the med tech companies would help her in this social good, doing the social good. And they, all the words in her mouth, these rapacious, horrible, financially oriented companies, right? And so she came up with this idea that she wanted to forward. She took it to the big med techs and they said, nope, not going to do it. So she said to the audience, I am going to do this and I'm never going to take a penny to get this thing to market. Not a penny. And she got a standing ovation. She even cried. And I'm sitting there saying, I want to hear the end of the story. So the end of the story was, she didn't finish. She said, this is the direction we're going. Well, I went back and I read her papers. I read the news around it, I read all the details, I read the FDA filings and so on. The bottom line is the technology that she tried to create was not ever going to be effective, and in fact it failed. And the med techs were very smart because they knew it was going to fail, and they didn't fund her. But what's my point? My point is when she said, I'm not going to take a penny from this. If she was going to do good, she would take a penny for putting her heart and soul into this thing for 2 or 3 or 4 years out of her oncology practice in order to make it work. She deserves to get paid to make it work. She deserves to devote the time, have the time to devote her energies to getting it to work rather than part-time on the side of the desk kind of stuff. So I think it's very misplaced. But your question, I think, is a little bit, not confused, but you're asking 2 different things in one question. No business, for example, if you create a little drinking straw tube that people in rural communities in Africa could put into a gross, muddy water that can literally suck clean water right out of a dirty stream with viruses and other things in it, and they can take this $1 worth of thing and suck clean water out of that stream. That business is going to do very nicely. I don't mean it's going to make tons of profit. The point is it can make profit in order to expand its product line and keep moving. Tremendous social good, but if it didn't make profit, it couldn't go. It either has to get charitable donations or something like that. So don't think about profit good. Profit is not related to social responsibility. Think about it being how do you reinvest those profits in order to further the social good of the company. And the fact that the company even exists is a social good. The problem is trying to solve is a social good. There are lots of cases where the people, like in medtech, assistive technologies, people who are marginalized in the community, they don't have money. They don't have money to spend on assistive technologies that help them. If they don't have a voice, if they don't have social standing and so on. So you've got medtech for people who get cardiac surgery. Very expensive, lots of press, lots of everything. This thing that helps a person use the toilet properly, which is fundamental to their well-being, but they have no voice and they have no money and they have no nothing. You'll find companies have a great deal of difficulty trying to sell to that marketplace. Sure. So it's not an easy problem that you just asked.
Thanks. Next question. Ma'am? No. Any more questions?
Hi, my name is Kyle. My question is in regards to traction and in regards to mobile product. Some angel capitalists have said that they're not interested in speaking with startups unless they have those 2 down. They have traction and a minimal mobile product. But to have a minimal mobile product, you typically, especially if you're not a techie, you need to have a partnership with a technical co-founder. But that involves getting a partner and developing a product. And in your presentation, you kind of mentioned that you need to validate the idea first, right? And I find that there's an issue there. If traction will be validation for the product, but I need to make product, as a independent product first before it can be validated, right? With partnerships and everything like that. So how important is a mobile product to you, to any of you, and how important is traction to you?
So, in my terminology, traction means revenue. Customers are buying the product. Okay, so that's quite a bit farther down the road, and it depends on the kind of product. If you're talking about a drug, or if you're talking about a medical device, you're talking about a web app, right? So
Please web app.
Okay. Well, web app. So you have to understand. there's a certain element of Darwinism and statistical probability in web apps. In other words, you know that joke from Dilbert, where Wally says, "Hey, I'm gonna build a web app and quit my job," and Alice says, "Oh, I have 2 lottery tickets here. You can have one of my lottery tickets. I just doubled the valuation of your web app company." Okay, so what happens often in web apps, different from other businesses here, is that because you can develop some web apps that are so simple, the MVPs are so simple, you can literally develop them over a weekend, give them to a bunch of people at a party, and when 8 out of 10 people say, "Yeah, I like that one, not that one," and then you go with it and build it more. Statistically, you throw 1,000 of these apps against the wall, 3 of them will stick and they'll grow really fast. So it's a different kind of business than building, I don't know, some other more sophisticated, like a web dating site or something like that, which can take a year to build all the details of it and so on, or medical technology or something like that. So these things are a little bit chicken and egg, and there are no absolutes. So clearly, the group of us, we were experts in healthcare. We knew how to build. What we didn't know is that where you cut off the ideal solution versus what the pragmatic people in the field need, right? And sometimes you don't need to build the product to get that kind of feedback, and sometimes you do. So there's no single answer to your question. But with angels, different angels will invest at different times. So not all angels, the valuation that he can get when you got nothing is a lot different, or the ownership that he can get when you got nothing is a lot different than if you've already spent $100,000 and you've got 6 people and whatever. Then you're going to get something different. You're going to ask for something different from. So just because you talk to some angels that say they won't do it unless you got MVP, you got traction, meaning you've got people buying the product. That's a different stage of business than some others. It's not
the reason I say that because there's a lot of things online now that don't have revenue at all, right? Pinterest is an example, right?
But that's different than that's traction is different than having a minimum viable product, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot. Instagram is a perfect example. They still have no revenue,
Yeah.
right? But they've got a minimum viable product, and from a strategic perspective, it was valuable to Facebook despite the fact they had no revenue. I disagree a little bit with John. I mean, I'm not totally. In my experience, a lot of the stuff we read is American, okay? So I think if you're in Silicon Valley, there are certain types of businesses that are, we'll call them concepts, or at the concept stage, that can get funded.
Yeah.
In Canada, forget about it.
Yeah.
You hear VCs talk about early stage. They're really not early stage. They're looking for traction. There's really no early stage funding in Canada, period. And there's exceptions to every rule, as John said. But I mean, if you go to the CVCA website and make a list of who the VCs are in Canada, and pick up the phone and do a survey, they're not going to be looking at too many concept deals. You have a better chance with angels, but even angels, I find, are very difficult in Canada to get to write checks. It's a long process. You're competing. Usually, it's an angel event where there's 3 or 4 different companies. It's just a very difficult process. And the other thing, and I maybe misheard you, but the other thing that I heard that I won't say troubles me, but concerns me, is the companies, funders, investors want to see that the company owns its own technology. And if you don't either know how to do it yourself, have a partner that can do it, or hire somebody that can do it so that the company owns the technology and it can make the pivots internally, then you really don't have a business model and you don't have a company. So I see lots of young people with great ideas, and I spend time with them trying to help them find a co-founder if they can't do the technical, or even on the other side where you've got a technical guy that needs a business person to help them commercialize it. It's critical, but as you heard in my presentation, partnerships are fraught with dangers. You got to tread carefully.
I agree, and the other thing that people don't realize is that venture capitalists, certainly in medtech, but I think in other areas as well, rarely play in seed rounds. they play in Series A. So that's right, traction. They've got real traction. They got sales. They got lots of sales. They got products out there with customers. And what Jeff means by the difference between angels in the United States and here, and forgive me if I say these things to people so often I forget what I say. In the United States, for example, a medtech angel is a medtech practitioner who has actually done 2 or 3 exits already successfully, is now coming back with his or her own money and investing in other people's medtech companies because they know the business, right? In Canada, you're going to get, I don't know, a guy from the resources or a gal from IT or something like that whose child has lupus or something like this, and they want to give back to the community, so they get involved in a business that they don't know. They don't know how to be patient, and they don't understand the risks and so on. So the angel communities are very different in Canada than they are in the United States, and that's one of the problems. But the reason you won't see any VC in seed is because VCs don't do seed.
They say they do, but they don't.
No, they don't. They don't. So, so angels is definitely where you need to go for those very, very early stages.
In fact, just to verify your model and to create initial traction, one of the very few places that you can get seed money is in the business accelerators. And angels and business venture capitalists come thereafter. We'll have much more of that in the following sessions, deal with them. Any more questions? We are way beyond that time. Big round of applause for our panelists today. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Saira. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, John. What a wonderful day it has been. And before we close, I do want to let you know that our next session is on 27th of September. It'll be at Dowling's. You will be getting a mail for registration link if you've already not got it. And we'll deal with ideation and opportunity validation. We started the introduction of Lean Canvas and Lean methodology. We will deal with that much more in the next session, where we will learn about how to validate an opportunity. In addition to the app that you can buy for the iPad, you can also do it for free on a site called leancanvas.com. I want to thank Fasken for hosting this event, and thank you so much. Have a good night.